Everyone here is enrolled in the course, right? Yeah? Is there anyone here who's not enrolled in the course?
I'm not yet. I'm going to audit it. I think he's thinking about it.
Okay.
Let's see how it is.
Okay, great. So, the first thing I want to ask you is, we're having a little pop quiz. Where do you go when you've logged on? Where do you go first to find the schedule?
From the left side.
What's it called? It's courseware, right? So courseware, if we click on it, it shows us, boom, our schedule. Well, eventually our schedule, depending on your internet connection. So we see that we already passed through week 1, and now we're in the middle of week 2, right? Okay, if I wanted to check my, my scores. Progress, that's right. Okay, and so I come here, and eventually I can see my progress. We have only done 11%. You can see on the first one I was testing. And I didn't do it wisely because I didn't pay attention to my own directions to you, which is double check if you can take the test again, or if it's only one chance. So I wanted to see what would happen if I got a wrong answer, so I could explain to you what to do when you do a wrong answer, but of course I did it on the one that that only allowed for one time. So I made a joke of my score. All right, syllabus. What are the 2 activities that will be due? That are the major activities for this course. Those are the weekly activities. Let's start with weekly activities. What do you have to do weekly?
Discussion.
Yes, we have to participate in discussion. What are the other things that we have to do every week? The reading and the exercises. And so this progress, this is showing us the exercises or the quizzes. Right? Okay. Here's where we can go for discussion. I think that's fairly obvious. What questions do you have, if any? Any questions so far? Have you participated in the discussions?
No.
No, why not?
For me, I don't know what to say.
You don't know what to say. Okay.
So just right.
Yeah.
Hello and that.
Basically, that's all I said. Okay, so for the open-ended panel, this is one part of it where we can go to problems that we submit. So for example, if you have any issues on grammar that you haven't resolved or that you feel unclear about because of the way that it was presented, then you could ask a question and then you can come here and also respond to that same question. So this is a good thing to know about. But you can also do the same thing on discussion. So I find, unfortunately, that it takes a really long time. If you want to search something, this comes up very easily, but then it takes a really long time to actually go through and find what you're searching for. So to me, that was a little frustrating when I did this before. Because I was searching for, I think I was searching for a specific person's discussion, and it just took too long to find the person. Anyway, that's okay. One thing though that we might look at is effective sentences. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Maybe not France's football team, that seems a bit inappropriate. But the rest of it, they do have some interesting discussion points. Alright, so, that's great. There aren't any questions. If you do have questions about grammar, where's the book? Where did we put it? Ah, yes. I did want to invite you to come into the ETRC because we have the grammar book, which is one of the most famous books, and it has everything that you need to know about grammar. So, for example, I almost said last week, yesterday, one of our participants was a little confused about what a predicate is. Because many people learn that a predicate is just the verb itself, but predicate is a part of the sentence. And so we looked in this book, and we were able to see some of the sentence diagrams to show where specific grammar is supposed to be. So if you ever run into any questions about grammatical things, please come look it up. I think this book is very easy and straightforward to look at. So there aren't a lot of problems.
How heavy is it?
Not very heavy, but you can't take it. So you don't need to worry about its weight.
Mine.
Well, during the course, this book is staying in the ETRC. After the course, you can check it out, but during the course, so it's a resource for everyone. So you can practice your muscle building after.
I saw those diagrams on the internet too, if you can search for them.
Great. Yes, so, the first thing that I want to ask everyone is, has anyone looked at the resources that she gave us? Yeah?
Yes.
Which resources did you like?
Actually, I managed to upload many psychologists.
Oh, those resources.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Actually, what I was looking for are, is it here? These resources. So I just wanted to introduce them really quickly because they're all fantastic. My favorite one of them may not be about.com, but about.com is very easy. And you can see that it's got a list and a description of all of the grammatical terms. But the one that I really, really liked, where is it? Here. Glossary of English Grammar. So you can see that it's very, very easy to search. You have all different subheadings, and the description, let's look at a possessive adjective. So description, I think, is very easy to read. The example is nice, and so it's good to come here. Okay. Week 2. On week 2, I was just going to go through with you. Is it this one? How many of you have done everything for week 2 yet? Okay, I didn't think so. Me neither. I've only done one of the quizzes. But, so what I'd like to do is go with you. Look at that. This has stopped from where we were yesterday. We're going to go through this PowerPoint, and then we're going to talk about the sentences. And we're just going to talk about sentences in general. And if we have time, we'll get to the paragraph. But before we do, we have homework, right? Because later on we're going to have to write an essay. And so we're learning the writing process through this course. And one of the things that is first when you write an essay in the writing process is a brainstorm or a free write or something of that sort. So we're actually tonight together going to do a brainstorm of possible essay topics before we leave. Okay? And I always find that this is really helpful because I could just brainstorm myself a few essay topics, but yesterday we filled the entire, we had the paper, the flip chart paper, we filled an entire one in fairly small writing full of different ideas that they could use for their essay. So that's what we're going to do today. If there are no other questions, you all are very good at understanding the course. That's excellent. Oh, is the sound on again? Yes. I think so.
makes an effective sentence?
Grammatically, sentences need, of course, a subject and a predicate. However, from a stylistic point of view, they need much more than that. First, they need clarity. A good sentence is clear. They need precise vocabulary. Use words that mean what you think they mean and use them correctly.
So we've talked about that before. Do you all remember when we talked about summary writing? I think I still have what I wrote last night, but I just wanted to bring this one up again. Is this from last night or no?
Yes.
Not this one. Oh, you got rid of the other papers. This is not what I want. This is the answers to the brainstorm. The other papers are gone. Okay. So, if you remember when we were talking about writing essays, what we had was something like the author said. And so if we look at the word said, that's not a very interesting word. We would want to fill it in with something that's a little more interesting and to the point. How did the author say something? Maybe the author argued. Maybe the author implied. What else could the author have done? What are other things? Suggested. Anything else?
Highlighted.
Yeah, nice. So while this particular presentation is primarily based at fiction writing, so it's novel writing. The sentences she gives us that are supposed to be the best sentences, they're all from novels. We want to also think about this in terms of academic English, right? And this is still the same for academic English because these are very important. I've been reviewing some summaries from another group of students, and a lot of them like to start with, I was upset or I was overwhelmed by this article, and then they go into the summary. Instead of personally saying that, they can say that by implying it with the correct choice of vocabulary. Because we all remember from summary writing, you're not allowed your own opinion, right? You don't start a summary with like, I was devastated by this article from the New York Times. Well, unfortunately for you, that emotion is very strong, but you would want to make sure that you're not stating it in quite that way. You can say the authors implied this, which may be devastating to an average person. You know, there's another way to say it. So we want to be very careful about our vocabulary choices.
They need strong verbs. Don't rely too much on the verb to be, such as is or was or were. Find verbs that mean precisely what you intend. Sentences should be the correct length. How long is that? Well, if it's a simple idea, you probably want a shorter sentence. More complicated ideas take longer sentences. A good sentence has a limited number of clauses and prepositions. When you have too many clauses or too many prepositional phrases, the reader often gets confused. What's related to what? What is doing what to whom? So keep the number of clauses that you have limited and the number of prepositions. Look for subject-verb agreement. First, you need to be sure what your subject is. Then make sure that the verb agrees in number.
Can someone give me an example of something that is not subject-verb agreed?
She
What are news?
She am.
What are news? What are news?
What are news? Okay, good. And what would be the correct?
What is
What is
the
news?
She is.
She is. Great.
Use the correct verb tense. If it happened in the past, you need the past tense verb. Now you're going to see a series of beautiful sentences, some of the most famous sentences written in the English language, and some in translation. And as you read these sentences, think about which ones you like, what do you like about them, how do they use verbs and nouns, what makes them effective sentences.
Okay, so we will look at these. Let's just write on the board what she's asking us to look at. So can you tell me again what she said? What should we be looking at? I think we just need to replace this eraser. Do you have a cloth instead? Yeah. Because I think the eraser is bad, maybe. Thank you. Okay. Yes. So what did she say for us to look for?
What made them beautiful? Something special about them.
Okay. What? Thank you so much. Yeah. Makes them, I think she said effective,
Yep.
right? What else did she say to look for? This was not the time to go into your minds and daydream. This is how I'm testing whether or not you are paying attention, and I'm getting that you are not paying attention. What else did she say?
What do you like about them?
Yes, she did ask us what do we like about them. And what else?
Sentence should be correct
Close. That was in the presentation itself, but she didn't ask us to talk about that for each sentence. She asked us about the grammar. She asked us about how the subjects and how
Okay, let's listen.
the verbs were used.
Let's see if that's possible.
I think we've got them here. Okay, we'll say predicates. Okay, that's not really a question. Should be how were the subjects and predicates used in the sentence, but that's okay. Before we get to her questions, we have first, obviously, call me Ishmael, but, where was it? She also had a wonderful link, and I really want to find that if you give me 1 minute. Okay, that's my quiz. Nuts. Where is that link? I had everything pre-prepared last night. Oh well. Did anyone notice the other links where they were located? The theory part? That's possible. I'm just worried that we will
check just one word.
The theory part, yes. Okay. Something here. Oh wait, no, that was it, wasn't it? Second part here, maybe it's here. Yes, you were right. Not every sentence can be great, but every sentence must be good. Did anyone look at this? I thought this was really, really interesting and really helpful. So basically what this is introducing is that Michael Cunningham was one of the jurors for the Pulitzer. And he would go through sentence by sentence in these manuscripts and in these books to choose which ones were the best books. And this writer distills the criteria that Mr. Cunningham used to choose. And the criteria is here at the bottom. So basically, with sentences, you want sentences that add detail. And by detail, what it means is that it's something unusual to the sentence. So if we were to choose a sentence like, if we were to, what did I use last night? Something about the, describe the sky. If I were to ask you to create a sentence describing the sky at night when it is about to thunderstorm, what could you choose to be a detail, an unusual detail?
You could use your senses, what you see, what you hear, how it makes you feel. You know, is there saltiness in the air if you're near the ocean, or you know, just the senses and then emotions.
So can you give me an example sentence? Can anyone?
The moon was extremely bright and luminescent. You could see the sand sparkling along the ocean. I don't know.
That's okay, but that's not unusual. So what we're looking for is something unusual. What would be unusual?
Could you compare this?
Yeah, it could be like a metaphor. It could be a comparison.
You don't just for an example, please.
How about comparing the sky to tea? When you first pour milk in it, and you see the milk clouding the teacup. That's unusual, right? We don't often think of like sky with tea. You could compare it to the color. I don't know where this came from last night, but this is the example I used last night. To the water in a septic tank. If it's really about to storm, a septic tank is it's kind of like, it's where your waste goes. It's like a sewage system, but only for each house. So that would be a very unusual comparison.
So comparison, contrast, or something, either or. Compare or contrast or something.
As long as it's an unusual detail, yeah, absolutely.
Sky was kind of whirling away.
Rolling away.
Whirling away.
Whirling. The sky was whirling.
Away.
Like a what? Because remember, we have to, the detail is sort of like, if we see here, there's an example. There is nothing to be done but go ahead with life moments by moment. Oh, sorry. Go ahead with life moment by moment and hour by hour. Put out bird seed, tidy the rooms, try to create order, peace around me, even if I cannot achieve it inside me. So, bird seed is a very strange, like you don't really think like, I'm gonna go put out bird seed for this particular sentence. So like a description or something that identifies you as an individual or a character that you've created as an individual character, that's helpful when creating a good sentence. This is
that-
his opinion.
Yeah, is that borderline getting off the subject though? How do you remain on the subject but yet throw in unusual things? What would you, how should you think when you're doing that?
Just find a way to describe the subject. It should always be all about the subject,
Okay?
but using something unusual.
Makes sense.
Like never leave the subject.
Okay.
Like the sky being like a cup of tea.
And the wind was so strong, it appeared as if the moon was gonna whirl away or whirling away with it.
Yeah, that's possible.
Clouds were whirling.
Sky looked like it needed another creator.
Okay. Unusual repetition is another word. So different forms of the same word in the same sentence. You can see here, I close my eyes against the warm sunlight and doze beside the dozing stranger on the Brighton train. So we have doze in the adjective form of dozing. And Henry is the only man I've ever known in my life that I knew how to love well, and as luck would have it, we were never lovers. We also incorporate a character's voice whenever possible. This one is, people keep asking Miss T's permission until she tells them to knock it off, and for heaven's sake, just use the phone already. In this, we can really hear her voice. Like, I can hear in my mind her saying, knock it off, just go ahead and use the phone. Add a surprising or unusual perspective. So the book club that we have for next month is the perspective from a dog, right? So that's an unusual perspective. There are a lot of books that have blossomed recently which are completely unusual. So the book about the dog, there's been other books about other people that you wouldn't normally associate, like books from a children's perspective, etc. Sentence fragments. So you can tell that this is for narrative writing only. This is like, novel writing. Because we're not allowed to use sentence fragments in academic writing. So as long as you're writing like novels and things like that, this is fine. Use compression and combined sentences to create density. So basically this one is, we were locked inside our individual sorrows, didn't know each other well enough to share, but we agreed out loud that like moose, pelicans were surely put on earth to act as suicide preventers. Agreed we'd never kill ourselves within the sight of one. So this could have been a ton of different sentences, right? But they combined it in a way that is effective. And the example that we saw from the actual presentation itself was the use of Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities, right? When he had so many clauses connected. Okay. So I just wanted to go through these because I think that this gives us more of an informed opinion when we now look at the sentences and what we like about them and what makes them good sentences, or why she would identify them as good sentences. Is it going to be back at 0?
Clauses and prepositions. What is doing what to whom. So keep the first subject verb agree, then make sure that now you're going to see a series of beautiful sentences and some in translation. And as you read these sentences, think about
Make sure we got it.
which ones you like, what do you like about them, how do they use verbs and nouns, what makes them effective sentences.
Okay, so the first one, we have Call Me Ishmael. What do you think?
laconic, very concise, and direct structure, simple.
Yeah, simple, direct. And in that, it's interesting.
Sounds, right, yeah.
Okay, all right. So would you consider it to be effective?
Yes.
Possibly. By itself, well, we know where it comes from, so we know that he's supposed to be a great writer. But if we were to look at it by itself, it is a very clear sentence. It is, like you all said, a very direct sentence. And we imagine that if it were surrounded by longer sentences, it would really stand out. Does anybody like anything about this sentence? Yeah, I'm not so enamored with it.
Some sounds, calm Ishmael, with some kind of repetition or something, kind of resounding, some vibration. There's something-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel also like if this was a statement from the main character, I have a sense of who that main character is, right? Very direct, to the point, no extra words. Just like boom, boom, boom. So in terms of setting up a character, it's a good sentence because you can understand a lot from the way the character introduces themselves. Okay, and there's really, how about the noun or the subject?
We have, credit.
That's
But-
right.
No,
Credit.
So it would be implied, right?
And
Mm-hmm.
But it's imperative, so.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's look at the next sentence. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. George Orwell, 1984, written in 1949. What about the subject? It, okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's two sounds.
Mm-hmm, exactly, there's two sentences, so there would be more than one subject, right? What was the second?
The first one was,
Well,
The
it,
subject, it, yeah.
uh-huh, and then was a bright cold day in April is the, that's right, and in the next one?
The clock.
The clocks, right, and then we have we're striking 13. Is this effective?
Yes.
Yes, why do you feel that it's effective?
It's clear.
Again, it's clear. It gives a description of the day. If you were to think about what the sentence means, does it help you to understand the situation? Like what is the feeling that you get from the sentence? What information are you drawing from the sentence?
There's some intrigue, some suspension.
Yes, why?
The clocks were strike 13, it opens some expected or unexpected action.
Yes, okay.
It gives a feeling that the
Bewitched.
time has stopped.
Interesting. So it's the suspension right before something important happens. Nice, okay? Yeah?
Also, the bewitching hour is 12 o'clock, and this one's striking 13, which is somewhat unlucky, the unlucky
Exactly.
13. So you've got some intensity going on.
I know only another sentence just as well as effective. Can I give you?
Yes.
Two men on mission have to say goodbye at the moment.
Oh yeah, we have to run to other meetings that he
Oh,
has
okay,
scheduled.
bye.
And happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. That is so sweet. Thank you.
Thank
Hope
you
you guys
for
come back.
all of your help and everything.
Thanks so much. Have a good
See you
night.
next time. Sorry.
It's too bad you're leaving actually, because the next thing I was gonna say is, to me, 13, as he pointed out, is an unlucky number, right? But also 13 is military time. And
Oh, yeah.
in the US, there's a distinction. So to me, this might mean that it has something ominous coming, but something that is maybe warfare, maybe like something that has to do, something that has to do with like military action, or I don't know. It's been years since I read this book, so I cannot remember. But to me, that is implied, and also the word striking. Instead of you could have said chimed 13 or chiming 13, but they chose striking. Striking is a very aggressive word to me, right? Like you strike someone.
Something dangerous.
Yeah,
Something like
yeah. So I think the reason why she chose this as a good sentence is we can gather a lot from it about the storyline just from the one sentence. If we're right or wrong, who knows? But we can gather, we can make many assumptions. Okay, next sentence.
Remember-
Yay. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair.
Very effective.
Yeah? Why?
Because it's scripture, it's repeated, but it's very interesting that it's pay attention.
Okay, good.
And
The repetition also draws our eye
So genius part of the sentence.
to it.
and
And
it is looks something like style, something from like Bible or from some, I don't know, like it's like poem or something.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yes, maybe written like in a poem, because every part of is divided into small sentences of equal, maybe equal length. Yes.
Parallel structure, sentence construction.
Okay, great.
It's emotional. I had now image inside when reading.
I will not call screen. A good description.
And also it like it was, and we are expecting something to happen or something to continue.
Okay, yeah, so it draws our attention and we're like, ooh, what's coming next?
Yes.
And I think it does a very good job of, it's been forever since I read this book as well, but if we look at this as two cities, right? And we have two contractions going on, right? Contractions? Contradictions. I keep repeating it, I'm like, wait a minute. Two good contradictions going on. And so it draws our attention back to the title as well, because there's two things happening and there's two cities. Maybe it continues with more information about the two worlds that are colliding. Maybe it doesn't, but at least we're drawn into the story, into the novel. Okay, so we think it is effective. We liked it because of the repetitiveness and almost like a poem or a song. The nouns and the verbs. Each one, yeah, it. And then we have was the blah 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 blah, right? So it and then was the. So it being the subject as she defines it, and then was the blah 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 being the predicate. Great.
For longer quotations like this one, you could always pause this video to read a little more carefully.
Okay, we'll stop with this last one. What do you think about Kafka? Someone must have slandered Joseph K. For one morning, without having done anything truly wrong, he was arrested. Slander. Who can answer that? What does slander mean?
To follow someone, to follow, or not to
Close to
Information from something.
to deceive somebody and to talk about that's close, but I think with slander, basically it just means you're talking badly about somebody. So if I come to you, yes, if I come to you and I say, Oksana, oh my gosh, let me tell you that she doesn't work at all. She is this horrible teacher, blah, 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 I'm slandering her. Which of course we know is not true.
It's worse than just gossiping.
That's
It's
right.
not gossiping.
That's right. Yeah, because gossiping also includes positive gossip. But slander is also done with intent. Like politically, maybe I'm in the same department as you and I want you to be relegated to night classes and weekends because I want your schedule. So I go to the director and I say all these horrible things about what she's doing in the class, and so I'm slandering her with the intent to have her displaced or removed. Okay, so we know from that word choice that, what do we know? Let me not tell you the answer, I want you to tell me. What do you think? What's going on here?
Joseph K. Was arrested.
Okay, he was arrested.
And the reason.
And the verb is not
Okay, was
Must
he
have.
arrested?
Slander must.
Because somebody maybe told unfair information about him.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because of what somebody else has said that has put him in a very compromised position, the police came, or the militia, or whoever, and took him away. But we understand from this that he didn't do anything, as far as we know, as far as the audience and the author knows, so, or the narrator from the book, right? So does
But
this,
we are not quite sure. Must have slander.
right, right.
Gentleman.
Exactly.
Yes, so it's not-
Which is why which is exactly why I was saying that we only know this information from
Yes.
their perspective,
He was
but we
arrested.
only know what they know. And they believe him to be wronged.
Mhm.
So does this encourage us to want to continue to read? Probably. We want to know, we're hoping, because we think maybe
Yes.
he's innocent, that he gets off, and that the person who was slandering him or whatever happened is caught, and but we know that it's Kafka, so probably that will not happen.
Yes.
He will probably die in prison. Okay, good. So, what makes it effective, do you think? The verb, the choice of vocabulary, the structure. Mm-hmm.
Participle. Without having one.
Okay,
Participle.
okay. Alright, good. Alright, we have just a little while longer. So again-
Grammatical point of view.
The reason that I wanted to go over these sentences with you, I want to make sure that this is clear before we transition into the next part, is I wanted you to see how important word choice is. Because I think that if we were to just do this at home and look at the sentences, we might go, oh, that's interesting. But we had a very deep discussion about these sentences. A lot of people had a lot of different ideas, and so we were able to grow in our knowledge of grammar, vocabulary choice, etc., etc. So I would like you to also try to apply this information to when you're writing an academic essay. So you may not be able to get away with writing a fragment, or probably if I were marking your paper and you did what Charles Dickens did and just had clause, I would give you a 0. But I think the idea is that word choice and structure, sentence structure, can really add to the readability and therefore the interest of your audience. And that's what's important in writing. And so I know that you'll be working on a lot of different aspects when you write for your academic writing, for your essays that will come later, but also try to remember this aspect as well and try to include it whenever possible. Okay, so speaking of writing, we have, where is it? We have this. Okay, so not only is this homework, here in the homework, we have to, we're going to begin our first essay for the course. In order to begin the first essay for the course, we have to practice writing paragraphs for 3 ideas you might want to write a longer paper about. So this isn't exactly clear, but what I'm understanding it to mean is that we have to write 3 different paragraphs. 1 paragraph for each idea. Okay? The ideas are centered around a current question or problem in the community that interests you. So what I would like to do now is I would like to take a moment and I would like to brainstorm with all of us, because you see how we grew so much in our understanding of the sentences. I imagine that when we brainstorm a current question or problems, we will grow and we will have lots of ideas that you can choose from. So this is why we are doing this. It's more effective to do it as a group than on our own. So can anyone give me either a question or a problem from our community here in Kiev that you would like to talk about?
Actually, I have provided one, let's say, paragraph of the problem, but I'm not sure if it's, on the topic.
Association
about public
agreement
transport.
with European Union, they must discuss the question.
Okay, do you want to just share what the problem is? And then we
Yeah.
have for you, you said the integration with the
Yeah.
EU. Okay, and you understand that when I write this, this means with. Okay, and what was your problem that you wrote about?
It's about public transport fare in January.
Oh, interesting. Public transport.
Yeah. It will be doubled, actually.
What?
Yes.
In January?
Yes, they say.
Will the tokens still work? Because we could buy a bunch of tokens and then just
Yes. 3 hryvnias.
they will be 3
3
hryvnias.
hryvnias.
But if you buy a bunch now and hold them, can you still?
They can
They will change.
Yeah, they can
We'll
change,
see.
right?
Okay.
Not sure, but
All right, so I'll make sure to use all my tokens. That's awful. Okay. What else?
Teacher salary,
yeah.
considering the previous one.
Okay. What else?
Stray dogs.
Stray dogs. Yeah, that is a problem. What else do we have? What are some other problems?
Okay, pension age.
Pension age.
Pension reform excuse. The women's.
I didn't spell that right. How do you spell it? P-E-N-S. Oh, I did write an S originally. Okay, thank you. What else?
Something positive, let's go.
Yes, but it says problems.
Something.
So
Problem,
maybe,
okay.
maybe if you want to make a positive question, you can make a positive question. But she did ask for problems. Since you see that she asked for problems, as a student, what do you understand the essay will be?
How to make our students work better.
Problem solution. That's right. So when you choose your problems, you might want to consider making sure that there are solutions for them that you know about. Have the food prices gone up? I went to buy, but I went to buy eggs the other day, and it was like 5 hryvnia more than usual at the store.
It's not a surprise anymore,
Okay.
unfortunately.
It depends on the store.
Okay.
They all want.
I was just wondering
Yes.
if like food prices might be a problem that you wanted to put on the board.
Maybe running water, drinking water.
Drinking water, okay, nice, yeah. Anything else?
Ecological problems
Okay.
connected with Chernobyl.
Oh, okay.
And
So
also the fact that
impact of Chernobyl. Okay, spell Chernobyl. So I was spelling it right. I'm having self-doubt today. I keep spelling it correctly, erasing.
No, it's okay.
Okay, what else? What other problems?
Aggressiveness of people.
Okay.
Just on the street and
Traffic.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, aggressive cars. The other day, I nearly got run over by a car because this woman, and I was really offended, not because I almost got run over, but because she was behind a school. A little kid could have been not looking like I was looking, and she could have just killed him. I was so angry. I wish I had something to throw at the car. Anyway, aggressive people. Oh, I wrote twice, thank you. Aggressive drivers. How about questions? Do we have any current question? Maybe we could go back to integration with EU, like maybe a question might be, what will the impact of integration with the EU have on X? And then you can fill it in, yeah?
Google integration.
it's great. Very actually. Another one maybe how to make our students study better. As usual, we are teachers, no?
What will the impact of
Maybe
integrity?
no.
Oh, save them. I'm still, okay. With the EU have on blank, and then we said something about how do we develop motivation in students?
How to motivate.
How do we motivate?
our students.
Okay, and then we also had, will we integrate? And then you said something about health?
When will we start receiving or getting good medical services?
Ooh,
Yeah.
receive. Boy. Medical care. All right, any other questions?
Another one, negative, unfortunately, how not to be frozen at work.
Frozen.
Yeah.
Do you mean like
They,
not
No
advanced?
heating.
no
No
central
heating.
heating.
That's
yeah, it's
Believe me,
really a
it's
problem.
just
It's so true.
It's just, it's a problem.
two extra sweaters, and they don't have question.
Oh, so that could be a question. Well, I'll put it down as
How not to?
freezing at work.
I, at home also sometimes.
At work and home.
Yes. And then motivating.
They will probably, never mind. I was gonna say that they'll probably argue about how expensive it is.
Yeah.
Problem, could we also say gas prices? Is that not a problem?
Yes, it must. It may be problem.
It's not a surprise anymore for us,
Right.
unfortunately, from journalism.
Right, and that's okay that it's
Unfortunately,
not a surprise.
it's,
They don't have to be surprised. I know. Means that you've been dealing with this a long
Yeah.
time, right? Gas prices and sources, right? Because you're drawing from Russia and they have a monopoly. They can control the price. Mhm. So we could also add that as a problem, lack of alternative energy sources. came up with such a good list that I'm having problems finding places on the board. Anything else?
Did you hear about teachers raking their leaves?
Raking leaves
Raking their leaves. Yeah.
for extra money?
No, for nothing.
Why?
I don't know.
It was a volunteer thing?
Actually, not exactly. It was a kind of an order. You will be punished if you don't do that.
Teachers have to rake
Teachers,
leaves?
yeah, exactly. On Saturday.
Every Saturday you all
No,
go
no,
and rake
not
leaves.
every. It was once. It was done once, but it was enough, you know.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, but
Who
it's
ordered
our
you?
life. It's life. Our supervisor, the rector.
Well,
Yeah.
we can add that to here. Raking
Volunteers.
leaves.
Under pressure.
Aggressive
like-
people, aggressive volunteering.
Yes.
We're waiting for the snow.
Oh no way.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Don't you have a union or something that can stand up to them? Oh, icky. Okay, so this is a great list. I would also like to show you what we came up with yesterday, just in case none of these ideas are interesting to you. So yesterday we had air pollution. We looked at, in terms of air pollution, we had cars and vehicles, factories, loss of forest, aircrafts, airplanes, etc., and overpopulation, burning trash as well. We had under violation of the Constitution, oh, someone had said dictatorship. And it was them saying it, not me saying it. I want to make sure that yes. It is. I'm going to add that. Aggressive volunteering.
Volunteer must be coach.
Okay, so we had also violation of the Constitution, violation of human rights, using law enforcement as a tool for suppression. Brain drain from Ukraine was one where all of the young people are leaving and all of the brains are leaving. That's what that means. Now we have aggressive volunteering. Economic pressure on business to, if they don't like you, to close you down. Taxation, bureaucracy. Under economics, we had tax